Here we go. For those of you who are new to the place, I am Rick Segall, better known as Rick Segall. Why don't you hit that subscribe button? Nope, not ringing the bell. Not gonna do it. Let's get into part 3 of fine artistry versus artistic expression. I want to make something clear right out the gate here about fine art, and fine artistry. First and foremost, the fine arts. When we refer to the fine arts, what we're referring to are the fine arts of dance, music, theater, and visual arts. If you were to go to a school that focuses on teaching the fine arts, those are the 4 disciplines that are put together in that categorization. There's also fine art, which is relegated to typically the world of painting. If you were to do a Google search for fine art, you're probably going to see a bunch of paintings. And it's referred to as fine art. It just so happens that painting is a visual art that falls under the 4 fine arts, and they just happen to call it fine art. In the same way that you have 2 terms for theater, you have the actual art form, which is Theatre, and the place where it takes place, the theater, Theater. The third is fine artistry. That is what I talk about when I'm referring to fine art and fine artistry. I use those terms interchangeably when I'm talking about fine artistry sometimes, and I know that can be confusing because I will mention fine art as the 4 disciplines. I may talk about fine art as a painting, and then I could refer to fine artistry as a whole. When I'm referring to fine art right now, I'm referring to fine artistry as defined and described in the prior video, which we're going to review right now on, you got it, my handy dandy whiteboard. Here it is. The definition that we gave to fine artistry, based on the Greek and Latin and even the French origins and root meanings of those words. What we came up with, and if you didn't see that video, go back and see it. It's part 2. Something uniquely put together, marked by distinction and perfection, whose end is suited for the virtues of humanity. I'm going to get into the object lesson right now that's going to take these things and put them into a framework that I hope helps explain it a little bit more, and we're going to continue the discussion. And that is the stool. This is going to be the object lesson. Something uniquely put together. That is the first leg on the stool. The leg of creation. When you think of something uniquely put together, in one word, that means the creation. Fine artistry is conceived, it's choreographed, it's composed, it's visualized. Whether it's Ludwig van Beethoven fighting through his own personal limitations to birth his 9th symphony, or Mikhail Baryshnikov improvising to the rhythms of his own amplified heartbeat, Sir Laurence Olivier decided to change the emotional texture of his next spoken line as Hamlet, or Michelangelo's pushing through the physical and emotional demands of painting the Sistine Chapel ceiling. True artistry is intentional creation. This creational capacity in us is a wonderful and beautiful gift, and participating in fine artistry allows us to exercise those creative capacities in unique and profound ways. Someone asked me a very good question. They said, is imitation in and of itself enough? For example, if there was someone imitating a fine artist, would that imitation in and of itself be fine artistry? I gave a comparison and I said, I've seen a lot of Michael Jackson impersonators who can do Michael extraordinarily well. But the imitation in and of itself isn't something that I would consider to be a unique creation, because all they're doing is replicating what Michael already created. However, Renee Zellweger just won an Oscar for portraying Judy Garland in the movie Judy, and while hers was an imitation, there was an additional level of embodiment of being where she wasn't just trying to sound and look like Judy, but be Judy and present us with dynamics of Judy's personhood that we were not privy to prior by reason of not only the script, but by the work that she did as an actress to give us aspects of Judy Garland that we may have never even known before. Therefore, it wasn't just a rote imitation of Judy. There was a dynamic about it that gave uniqueness to the creation that transcended mere copying. The second leg, the leg of distinction and perfection. I wrote this down in my notes too. All fine artistry should be marked by distinction and perfection. True fine artistry yearns for more than self-expression. It yearns for the highest inspirations conceivable, the greatest expressions possible, the deepest emotions capable, and the grandest achievements imaginable. We can hear those yearnings and striving for perfections, whether it's in the intricacies of Chopin or the lyrical phrasing of Paul McCartney. We can see it in the drawings of Leonardo da Vinci and the movements of Rudolf Nureyev. This desire for elevated quality is not reserved for fine artistry alone, but participating in fine artistry allows us to tap into those intrinsic yearnings for that which is perfect, higher, and transcendent in ways that other art forms just don't allow. And I had a lot of people ask me questions about this, particularly as it pertained to perfection. And what I'm not saying that fine artistry must be perfect in its execution in the totality of the art form in order to qualify. Notice the definition says marked by distinction and perfection, and at the very least, the attempt. To be perfect is extraordinarily rare, but to strive for perfection is truly the thing that matters, to see the effort was taken place. That's why laziness in artistry bothers me, because I don't find any room for it, either in my own personal opinion about it or the definition of fine artistry as revealed by the root words fine art. It doesn't mean that the artistry has to be perfect, but there's at least the striving for it. It's marked by that. It has some semblance of a touch of that pursuit, and oftentimes achieves it. There are some forms of artistic expression that when you watch it or hear it, you can sense perfection taking place. And it's at those moments that you know it's transcendent. You've seen us have it happen on our stupid reactions. I mean, to use it as an example, there are some moments of musical expression that are perfect when I listen to and watch Ustadji Zakir Hussain. It happened as well in a lot of the music we've heard. When we first heard Kaushiki Chakraborty sing, there is such a thing as perfect pitch, where you can tell somebody sing a C natural instead of a C flat or a C sharp, and they sing it, and then you play it on the piano and they have the exact note, they've matched it, that's perfect pitch. That's what that means. That's what that leg means. The third leg, whose end is suited for the virtues. All fine art should be suited for the virtues. That which is virtuous is lasting. It has an inherent integrity, and here's where we draw the line, okay? Dignity is inescapable from morality. When you say something has dignity, you are immediately implying an inherent morality with that word. Virtue has morality as a part of it, but also as a part of that is something that is definitively amoral, and that is the word and idea of integrity. I don't know if you knew this, but integrity at its core is amoral. It has nothing to do with morality. And I'd like to give you a working definition of integrity. First of all, this chair can have integrity. Is it a moral being? Does it have morality? No. When we say that this stool, this chair, has integrity, we mean that it works properly. It fits. It's safe. Integrity in and of itself basically means this when it comes to humanity. Integrity is the integrating of what you believe into your actions. If we say that person did not have integrity, we typically mean they were hypocritical, that their actions were not in alignment with what they believe. If they have integrity, we say their actions are in alignment with what they say and what they believe. But that has nothing to do with morality. Adolf Hitler had integrity, everybody. He did what he believed. He integrated his beliefs into his actions. We're talking about there being a strength, that fine artistry has the strength to capture your heart and the stamina to remain there forever. I always use this as a barometer by which something deserves a Best Picture nomination. Corbin and I got into heavy disagreements the year that La La Land and Moonlight were nominated. He thought Moonlight deserved it way more than La La Land. I thought La La Land did, and we were both pretty emphatic about it. And my primary reason was this reason. I said to him, very few people are going to even remember Moonlight in 5 years, let alone 50. But I promise you people will be talking about La La Land in 50 years. Therefore, I think that's a film that's worthy of being remembered because it maintains that sense of integrity. It's lasting. Use that word if that's what helps you the most. Now, there is a level of dignity. We're going to get into that. But primarily, that leg I'm talking about is that the work of art has some sense of this will stick. It's got a permanence. People don't ever want to forget this. People still talk about the Wizard of Oz, and it's almost 100 years old. That's because it qualifies for this particular leg of fine artistry. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I can't help you. And the last leg is humanity. So we have creation, distinction and perfection, virtues, humanity. And we're not going to get into the rest of the stool today. That's for the next video. But humanity. All fine artistry is a human endeavor requiring the soul of both artist and audience. Fine artistry is impossible without the mind, body, soul, and spirit of the human being. As much as a dog might be man's best friend, a dog won't ever be able to write in 3/4 time. As similar as a monkey might be to us in its DNA, a monkey will never create a subtext for a character. I mentioned this in the last video. Trees, as statuesque as they are, will never stand in first position. Fine artistry is to be created by, presented by, and received by people. Fine artistry speaks to and for us. It moves in and through us. And its impact is more than aesthetic. It is eternal, resonating with the things inside of us that yearn for the eternal. When we appreciate the mystery in Mona Lisa's smile, isn't it because we also appreciate the mystery in us all? When we hear Jimmy Stewart's George Bailey cry out, "I want to live again, Clarence, I want to live again. Please, God, let me live again." Doesn't something in us want to live again too? When we feel the timpani and double bass swell as Christine, seeing beyond Eric's horribly deformed face and soul, kisses him during the climactic moments of the Phantom of the Opera, doesn't something of redemption's hope swell within us as well? Fine artistry should and does inspire us to venture in and uncover the deepest places of the human soul and spirit. It's that shared human experience, whether it's just joy and laughing, or it's tears and crying, or it's a lesson. Somebody asked me a great question about anti-heroes and said, okay, if we're looking for something that has a level of virtue to it, and there's like this dignity that they referred to, which wasn't definitive in the definition, but applied for sure and implied directly by me, they said, as a character like the Joker or Nawaz's character in Raman Raghav 2.0, are they not fine artistry qualifiers? Of course they are. It's the end and the means by which the end is coming in the fine artistry that is sharing something of the human experience. And oftentimes what fine artistry does is it shares with the world something in its negative form in order to point out something positive. That's what anti-heroes do. They point out what's wrong in either the character or the society that made the character in order to hold up a mirror to ourselves. That's what was so wonderful about Joker. The film itself, it was holding up a mirror to us, as was the movie Us by Jordan Peele in an even more extraordinarily cerebral and brilliant way. Gonna get into the rest of this next time. I really hope that this helped answer some questions. If it didn't, please put it down here in the comments below. And again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you would like to be a Patreon member and support me on this channel, in just a moment I'm gonna sing you a stupid song, and there's gonna be a little icon that you can click that'll take you to the Patreon site. And in the meantime, as always, stay stupid. I will see you in the mornings for chai on OSR with Corbin the Bearded Bastard, and that moron will be here with me next time as well. If you like this video and want some more, subscribe right now and you'll adore the time you spend with me and your extended family. And if generosity turns you on, just click that link to Patreon and give until your money's gone and no one else will be.
Rick Segall, an institution of silliness for everyone but Corbin's mom.